Today I'm at an empty house. I was actually trying to live stream, so you'll probably see that on the channel, a recent live stream. But unfortunately, the connection in this house is terrible and it was cutting in and out. So I'm just gonna briefly go over what I was kind of saying in the live stream. If it does, it should be uploading a little later today when I am back on my Wi-Fi. But basically, this is 4 bedrooms of carpet. It is an empty house. They just acquired the house. And so I've done some work for his niece and he loved what he saw. So he's having me out to clean his new home. And basically I kind of staged some things already. So I got my carpet wand, I got Scotchgard for when I'm done cleaning the carpet. Got my pre-spray ready to go and blankets, corner guards around all the doors and my pop-up door down there to block out flies and the exhaust from the machine. So I already vacuumed the master bedroom. I was trying to do that during the live stream and hopefully that uploads and looks okay. Like I said, it will be uploading once I'm back on Wi-Fi because the connection here was terrible and it cut out like 3 times. So I just ended the live. But basically I just talked about the pre-spray, which since I don't know the background story of the carpet because they just bought it, I'm assuming this walk path here, if they walked around barefoot a lot, the previous owners, our skin is naturally oily, so I put some D-limonene or citrus in the pre-spray. I didn't find any pet stains, but I did put some of the Pure O2 in the mix, which is an odor and stain remover, just in case. And I'm also using BioPro, which is an enzyme-based pre-spray, just in case there is any spots that the UV potentially didn't pick up. There was kids here, he didn't know if there was pets, it didn't sound like, but you can see the carpet's pretty worn down in some of the major walk areas. I'm assuming a bed was over here or something because right there it's kind of worn, and then a traffic wire pattern right out the door. And then this room over here, similar thing, pretty worn, fibers down here in the entryway, leading around the corner a little bit to the closet, and then kind of right up to there where probably a bed was in that corner, would be my guess based on the wear patterns. So I mixed the pre-spray that way for that reason, because it usually is a surefire way to get this all cleaned up. I am using my newer to me van, because I did hire somebody recently and I have been training them last week. Today is Saturday as of this time of the filming, so he's not with me. He will be eventually, hopefully, working Tuesday through Saturday if he works out. I've only had him for 4 days now, so that's why we kind of haven't seen any videos pop off lately. I have one in queue that I just need to finish putting together, and put some information in the description so you guys can learn a little something about these floors. I have another LVP clean and seal job video that I did. So with that being said, I'm gonna get this started. I just basically need to finish vacuuming 3 bedrooms because I already did the first one on the live stream like I mentioned. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this started. So it does kind of seem like somebody had vacuumed not that long ago, but if you've been a part of this channel for long enough, you'll know that even though people vacuumed, we tend to do it anyways because we want to get as much dry soil out as possible. When that happens, you're not wetting down as much, and therefore when you pre-spray and CRB, it is easier to get it out while it's dry and not wetted down. So unless the carpet's been vacuumed extensively well, it is always a part of our process. And we don't skip it. And in some cases, yes, for those that are cleaners, you're probably thinking, you know what, I don't see the value in it, but the way we do it isn't 100% just to get some dry soil out, because there have been numerous houses, and this may be one of them, because it seems like it's been vacuumed. Since I've already done 2 rooms, and I haven't gotten really a lot to where you're like, was that really worth your time? But the thing is the way we look at it is it's one less thing that our clients have to do. So if they're scheduling you to clean their carpet and they're busy people, which is most anybody these days, that's one more thing they have to worry about doing before you arrive to their house, is vacuuming the carpet. Now, when we tell them that we vacuum, or we actually have a short 1-minute video that we send all of our clients that are new to us to review and see how our cleaning process is, they see that after we inspect the carpet with a UV light, that the next step is vacuuming. And a lot of people see that as a benefit because they're like, well, I don't have to do it now. One less thing that I have to worry about. And so it kind of helps set you apart from others that may not do it. And of course, yes, it does take time. And yes, it needs to be, worked into the cost of your service, because you're spending extra time doing extra steps to provide a quality service. It's not 100% required, but a lot of people do like that we take care of it for them and they don't have to worry about it. So we utilize it as part of our service. And then there are also companies around that don't utilize a CRV, and it's their choice. If it's not in the budget to buy one, if you're new, I highly suggest you get a carpet rake, and bare minimum, at least after pre-spraying, rake the carpet the best you can. Because where I used to work at, we didn't have a CRV. I didn't even know they existed. Nobody told me about them. I don't know exactly when they officially came out, but I'm pretty sure they were out for at least 8 to 10 years before I started even cleaning. So if you get yourself a rake, which is probably, I think they're like $35 or something on Amazon. I used it on a job when I worked there out of curiosity, before anybody even said anything to do that, and it made the traffic area look better, in my opinion. I felt like it cleaned up better. So I highly suggest that you at least get a carpet rake, which most cleaners do. If you're Scotch guarding the carpet or deodorizing it after you've cleaned it, that you're raking the carpet out. So you can use it for agitation. And I've personally seen it help. Kind of stinks having to rake the carpet and scrub it with that to do that, but if you're on a budget and trying to buy the CRV, then I think it'll be useful for you to do that. And at that point already, you should be working in the cost of a CRV. Even though it's much faster to use one, the extra cost for doing that quality service, even though you're just using a rake, because you're going to do the same thing, essentially, as you would with the CRV. utilizing a rake is just going to take you longer because, you know, it's not mechanically doing it as quickly. But I still can believe that it would be useful. You know, just figure out the cost in your area, what, you know, that type of service is worth. It's going to be different in my area than it's going to be in yours. I'm in California, so it is unfortunately not cheap here. So you just got to figure out what the market can handle for the type of service that you're utilizing. Now, if I didn't vacuum and I didn't CRV, our prices would definitely drop, but so would our quality, in my opinion. Or I'd have to be working harder extracting the carpet to get a similar result. The biggest thing I can tell you with this process, one of the nicest things we hear from people is my carpet stays cleaner longer with you guys. And I believe what they mean by that, without really realizing it, is we get more out of the carpet than maybe, say, whoever else they were talking about. Meaning it takes longer for the carpet to get dirtier because this is a big filter. And just like your heating AC unit, there's filters you got to replace every once in a while because they start to fill up and get really dirty and restrict the airflow to your unit. So being the biggest filter in the house, your carpet, it starts to fill up. And when it gets full of dust and whatever else, you'll start to notice it more and more as it gets dirtier and dirtier, thus requiring the cleaning. But they say with us, it doesn't seem like they need it as often because it stays cleaner longer. It's kind of like you have two glasses sitting next to each other. One is half full with water and one is, say, empty to near empty. Which one would fill up if you started filling them both up at the same time with more water? The one that's half full. So if we're getting them down to basically empty, because I don't think realistically you can get any carpet with any machine or any process 100% everything out of it. Mainly if you were to pull up your carpet today and you've had it in there for even a year and a half, you'd probably find grains of sand underneath the pad and on the subfloor, like the concrete for this house's example. It's like having an area rug. It's like having an area rug on a hard surface floor. I don't know why I turned the turned the camera off instead of the vacuum. So if you have an area rug on a hard surface floor like this, and it's there for, say, a year, 2 years, and you pick it up, you're going to find a bunch of grains of sand and whatnot underneath it, because the time of walking on it, you're beating it through the rug, and it's getting itself underneath it onto the floor. Like you can see right here. Sorry, it's kind of hard to tell because of the way the light's glaring in here, but if you see this line right there, that's where an area rug sat for who knows how long. And depending on how it gets cleaned, that may not come off and it may look different there. It might, you know, where they always walked and where they didn't because of the area rug, it's now a little different. And even after we've cleaned it and put a sealer on it, at one house that had a rug down forever, I mean a long time, it you could still kind of see it even after it was scrubbed and extracted in the whole 9 yards. It still showed up. So vacuuming your rugs, professionally cleaning your rugs, whether it's an area rug or carpet, makes a huge difference. So they may have just vacuumed this, but you know, I still got not a ton for the amount of square footage, but a decent amount. So if you have, say, a pet in the house, maybe 4 people living in the house. If you really want to stay on top of this carpet, you got to probably be doing it at least twice a week, and it will last so much longer because all the sand and stuff that we draw in is like sandpaper. When we walk on the carpet, it's like sandpaper slowly abrading the fibers, and then they start to loosen up. And see, it looks all broken up, right? Like all these little pits in the carpet because the fibers are beat up. But then you come over here and look, it looks nice and tight and perfect. Like it's basically brand new because it's right next to a baseboard where nobody walks. You come over here and it's all beat up and looking kind of gross in comparison. So even if you professionally clean it and get a lot of everything out, this traffic area is still going to look tacky. And there's nothing you could do about it because the fibers have already abraded and started to look completely different in a space that got walked on all the time. So the only way you can minimize that is 2+ times a week vacuuming, and then professional carpet cleaning at least once a year, depending on how many people and pets are in the house. If you have a lot of pets in the house and a lot of people in the house, then I would consider every 6 months. Carpet manufacturers, last I was told, it was between 12 and 18 months. That's under the assumption that it's being well taken care of and there's not a lot of people or pets in the house. Then I would absolutely agree with that. But based on my years of cleaning and doing this process, I always try and figure out those things first. How many people, how many pets are in the house? And then that way I can help justify what may be best for their needs of how often it should be, professionally cleaned. If they're like, oh, we vacuum like once a week. Okay. How many adults? 2. How many kids? 2. Pets? 1. Okay. Bare minimum once a year is what I see that seems to work for those that I have told that, because then I come back and yes, it's a little dirty, but it's not bad, and as long as they're sticking with the frequency of vacuuming that they told me, then they're probably okay. But realistically, 2 or 3 times a week for an active house is fantastic. I wish from a long time ago I had photos of it, but there is a lady that had light white-ish color carpet, maybe beige at most, this is probably 10 or 11 years ago. And she said she vacuumed every day. She had 0 wear on the carpet. She had me clean it 2 years prior. Or, I was the one that was chosen to clean it where I used to work 10 or 11 years ago. She had me about 2 years ago, and then I came out there to give her an estimate on cleaning her granite countertops. And she's like, you remember cleaning this carpet? And I was like, kind of. It looks familiar, but, it was over 2 years ago. And it looked seriously brand new. Like it didn't need to be cleaned because she vacuumed daily, thoroughly, and had no pets or kids in the house. So there you go. She doesn't need it as often because of the frequency of vacuuming she did. Kept it up looking beautiful. So that is what has to be done. Unfortunately, if you want it to keep looking like perfect, you just have to vacuum daily and then have it professionally cleaned every once in a while. I'd say 1.5 years at that case, if there's no pets in the house and you're vacuuming daily to keep it looking beautiful. So has been a while since I've really talked about stuff on camera, go over things. So this is definitely for the people that want to learn something or understand something about carpet cleaning. Again, everything's vacuumed now, so I'm going to start pre-spraying the carpet, and then I'm going to go to the CRB and start mechanical agitation. And then after that, rinse and extract everything out to neutralize it. So this carpet's kind of dingy, dirty. So another thing I haven't really gone over with in a while is my rinse tank. What am I going to be using in my rinse tank? So there's 2 different types that I use, and we can take a walk out there and look. So this, I haven't had this set up for a long time. I'm still getting things the way I want it, so that way I can keep new hire organized and set up. But this is my new-ish machine, and this is the rinse tank. So we put a mixture of chemistry in here depending on the job. So what I'm going to be doing here today is, because it's mostly dirty and not any pet stains or anything like that, I'm going to be using what's called an alkaline rinse. So the alkaline pre-sprays and is what helps suspend soils. And so I'm going to be using an alkaline rinse because it gives me some extra clean power, the one I have, and will give me a higher success of getting this carpet look the best it possibly can. Now, if it had a bunch of pet stains and not as soiled, but just pet stains, I would be using an alkaline, or sorry, not an alkaline, an acid-based rinse. So it makes a difference because urine, when it dries, turns into an alkaline salt. So once I treat it with Unchained, which would be my pre-spray, I would be extracting it from this chemical tank that leads through the line, comes out here, and goes to my carpet wand and feeds water through this. And it's this right here, GPH, that's gallons per hour. So I usually have it around 2.5, depending on the severity of the carpet, how bad it is. And that's what tells me how much is coming out of here per hour. So if I held down the trigger for an hour straight, I would get 2 gallons of product and / water that's diluted through this tube and into my carpet wand. So I'm going to be running it at about 2.5, and like I said, I'm going to be running the alkaline rinse. So this little machine does quite a great job. My other 2 machines are bigger, but I have been yielding the exact same results with this machine. The only thing that's not as strong on it is the pump. The pump on this is smaller but can handle all types of jobs, carpet, tile, upholstery. And then the vacuum, how powerful the vacuum is. My other ones are definitely more powerful, but I still yield the same results because I adjust the way I clean to compensate for it. So if you are starting out with a smaller machine like this, the only thing that you run a risk of not being able to do is just longer hose runs. So if you got a house that's going to require 250 feet of hose, that's probably your biggest challenge, is running 250 feet of hose on a smaller machine like this. You'll just have to go real slow for the vacuum strokes, and then as soon as you can pull off a hose length, 50 feet is usually what they come in, take it off, and then keep doing that until you're down to 100 feet of hose or less if you can. And that will allow you to do pretty much everything big machines can do with this. So kind of random to go over that, but so this is my starter, this is my throttle, pull it out. If it's cold started, needs to be cold started, here's your choke. This adjusts your chemicals, so down to prime, up to go to have it on. This you adjust how much is coming through the level. After you've turned on your pump clutch and diverter valve for this machine, you'll be able to do all this stuff over here. I don't have an auto pump out on this or a pump in, which means a separate water tank. It's just got a small one in the back here. So those are things that you can add to your setup. And this is just a fresh water hose, so I use that for filling things up as needed, like Scotchgard or my pre-spray, etc. So hopefully this information helps somebody that wanted to learn a little bit about a machine. But this is the Boxster 421, and this whole setup, because it's technically my older van, I nicknamed it Gladys. I don't know why, it just sounded funny. And so this whole setup is called Gladys, so you might hear me refer to it as that every once in a while. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. So after you turn it on, come over to pump clutch and diverter valve. Get that turned on. Come in here. Make sure this is up because it's parked not too far away from kind of where the front door is, so the exhaust doesn't get in. And of course flies, because it's fly season and it's not my favorite time, but it is what it is. So that's why I love that door, and people love it too because of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this going. So I'm gonna pre-spray and get it rolling. All right, so little recap. Some citrus in this pre-spray. BioPro. Yeah, I can hardly talk here. Because I don't know the history of this carpet, and neither does the guy that bought it, outside of a few little things. So I'm opting to add citrus because it seems a little dingy in some of the walk areas. So I'm kind of thinking previous owners walked barefoot. So I'm playing it safe and adding a little bit, so when I start to rinse the carpet out after CRB, it's higher probability that those will come off quicker to make my job easier. So it's always good to play it a little safe and add a little bit when you're unaware of exactly the history of the carpet. I'd rather use a little bit and have it come out great than find out later that it could have been easier. It's like a greasy plate. Warm water helps, but a degreaser makes it so much faster. On to the CRB, first bedroom. So I was actually, because I'd never done it before, was trying to go live on TikTok. So I haven't done that once with our profile. So if you're not following us on TikTok, be sure to do so. Every once in a while I upload videos to that don't always make it to YouTube. So being that I have, I don't know, I think I'm over 1,000 followers on there, and there's 11,000 of you here. Some of you may not know that I have a business profile on there as well. So come join me, because there is a chance you might see some different content on there than you do on YouTube. Oh, and also something new that YouTube is rolling out. They are rolling out a thing called courses. So if somebody is putting together a course to help educate people on stuff, apparently you can now do that, or I think it might be still in its beta stages or something. I just noticed it popped up on my YouTube studio, and I do have some videos I have put together and have not released that was going to be for like employee training. So I am considering putting that stuff together and offering it on here. If that is something you would be interested in, I would love to know. So there's other companies, actually where I get my chemistry from, they have something like that where it's videos going over stuff and then, you know, showing the cleaning process, etc. And then hopefully YouTube will implement this too, but having a test so you can see how well you retained the information. So if you need to go review something, you know what to go review in the video. So I am considering doing that. If you think that'd be something of interest to you, let me know. And I don't know when it would be done and all that stuff. It kind of depends on YouTube and my time to put this content together completely for at least a carpet cleaner or something like that. Then I would definitely like to do that. I have been considering it. And yeah, hopefully I can make that work. Alright, CRB in the last room. Already did the closet. And there's some carpet damage there. Don't believe I showed you guys that earlier. So we got 2 rooms with visual carpet damage where there's fraying or missing fibers. Kind of wish that battery got replaced in the smoke detector before I started. So another thing that we hear when using the CRB, so another reason why it's a great tool to have, is after we vacuum, pre-spray, and then run the CRB, of course, one of the biggest things that we hear that sounds awesome coming from a client is, wow, it looks so good, you're almost done. And I proceed to say, yeah, it's looking great, isn't it? We still actually have to clean it. And they're like, wait, what? You're not almost done? I'm like, no, actually, all I've done is vacuum it, pre-treat it, and scrub the carpet. I still actually have to clean it out, everything all out. And they're like, oh, wow. They're always kind of blown away at the fact that it looks so good already. But I actually haven't technically removed the soil buildup or whatever it is out of the carpet yet. So that tells me, from a client's perspective, that it already looks fantastic. So it's just a great reason why, in a cleaner's point of view and a homeowner's point of view, that it looks great and does a great job. I would love to hear that daily, just because it's so satisfying, because you're not even done with the job and the client's already satisfied with your work. And I believe you can get similar results by using a rake for agitation if it's not in your budget. But I certainly suggest with each job you do, set a little bit of money aside to purchase one. And then after you're done with every cleaning, I highly suggest you push those little pins out and take the brushes out from underneath and wipe it all the time. I wipe the cable all the time after every job when I'm done with it. So like after I stop filming here, I'll take my towel, wrap it around the cord as I wrap it back around the handle here. And just keep maintaining it. Like I said, make sure you build this into your time and everything for doing the job, and wipe it out after every single job. And this machine should last you a lot longer when you do that, because you're not letting dried up junk build up underneath it. And I say wipe out, don't spray out, because you don't want water to get inside of here from underneath, because water is going to make its way through at some point, and it's going to ruin the CRB or cause rusting sounds, grinding like sounds and things like that. So wipe it out after every job and you'll be good to go, and it'll last you hopefully much longer than you expect, because this CRB does a great job. It isn't the most expensive brand you could buy. It's one that's on the cheaper side. Even after tax, for me to purchase it, it's still like $2,300, maybe a little bit more with tax and shipping. So that's a lot of money. but this machine does a lot of good for your business when you use it. So just maintain it, take the brushes out. What I always do is just tilt it over like this. Push the pins out from the side, so it'll be on the skinnier side. So right here, push those out, pull it out from over here, pull the brushes out of here, wash the brushes off, and then get a towel and some latex gloves and wipe all this out. Pull the heavy stuff out first with your hand and the latex glove, and then use your towel to wipe the undercarriage out, and it will stay looking pretty good for quite a while. And if you're going to be growing and doing cleaning business with employees, start them out knowing that they have to do that from the get-go. You want this stuff to last as long as possible, and you want to make sure you set up your days with jobs that there's time to do so. That way there's no damage happening to your equipment quickly, thus a lot more purchases, and it's going to hurt you as a business unless you create these systems. So I'm just going over this stuff in here while I'm thinking about it, so that way if you want to learn something real quick, you can learn what I do. And I do it after every job. The whole corner guards, blankets, pop-up door, all that stuff is going to set you apart from other cleaners that don't do any of that walk in the door with a dirty carpet wand or whatever else. So like even the bottom where the jets are here where it sprays out, I spray that off after a real bad job, or at least at the very most or at the very least at the end of the day, because it will get a little bit of something on there at some point, and you just want to spray it off. So that'll keep that undercarriage of your carpet wand looking a lot better. It won't start to look tacky, because if you bring that in and you set it down like this, like I do when I'm prepping my other stuff, you're going to have a bunch of junk hanging out right underneath behind where the jets spray. And somebody's going to see that, and they're going to probably not hire you again, because they're like, this is how they treat their tools? How do I know they're doing a good job cleaning my floors? How do I know that's not a bunch of junk from somebody else's house and not here? So same idea if you're CRB. You don't clean these out after every job, eventually stuff is going to get spit out onto somebody's floor. And if you end up at somebody's house that has no pets, they're going to ask you, what is that? And it's a bunch of hair, and maybe even human hair that, because we lose our own hair every once in a while. And it could be spitting out on their carpet, and it could be a completely different color than their hair, and then you're explaining what that came from. And you're not going to be able to without lying. So we suggest just staying true to it, making it, get used to it. Always pull those out. Always wipe down your tools. Spray the bottom of the wand at the very least. That is where it needs it. And, because that's where all the junk is going to accumulate at some point. So just little things to think about. Hopefully this video is going to help somebody. It's going to be long. Sorry, but I think it's going to help somebody, and that's what matters the most. All right, so I decided to just show you guys. So again, this over here, just push it in, push it in. Now it's poking out over here, allowing you to grab these pins out. And then you can grab the brushes out and see all this junk that's in here? That's gross, right? If I would have just left this here, not cleaned it out, and went to another job, that would be spitting out onto their carpet. And that's just simply gross. See, that's hair from pets and humans, dirt and nastiness, all accumulating underneath the CRB. And you didn't see any of that kick out when I was doing the CRB part of the video. Not any of it. So it's wet right now, which makes it easier to clean it out of here. So get the bulk of it with your hand, so that way you have a pile here, and then utilize your rag to wipe it out. And get as much of everything out as you can, so it doesn't go spitting everything out at the next job. small maintenance will make this machine last you longer and not have to buy another one as quickly, because we don't want that. So just do the best you can to get everything out. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys that. It's not perfect yet. I'm going to do a little more wiping and toss this stuff in my trash. I basically just pick it up with my glove and then take my glove off and have it kind of wrap into the glove, so that way when I can just throw it away easily. So this looks a ton better already, just wiping it out a little bit, than it would have if I left all that junk in there and had it spit out at somebody's house and have to sit there and explain what the heck that junk is. It's just not professional, doesn't look good for you, and again, if it dries out under your CRB, something happens and your next job cancels or whatever, you're not using it the next job, you're gonna let that stuff sit for potentially 16 hours or more until your next day and your next job, and it's just gonna slowly ruin your machine. So maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. Okay, so one thing I like to do as much as possible when I have a separation from carpet to hard surface is go straight up on it like this. You'll get most likely get a better clean a little quicker, rather than just going sideways next to it. And then you could, if it's a real dirty area, you could always go sideways on it too, just to kind of clean two different directions. But this allows me to get closer to the edge without risking getting a ton of moisture on the hard surface, which this is like a vinyl plank, so it's not a big deal. You just have a towel with you to wipe up, but that's what I like to do when possible, is go that direction, especially in an area that's more heavily soiled. Not too soiled right here. I mean, there's some here, but you know, this corner isn't exactly an area where it's walked much, because there was a nightstand sitting there. You can see the two indentations that sat in the front of it the most. It's like something was in the carpet there, because it was a little foamier. Anytime you run into something like that, go over it a little extra. So when I come back for my dry pass, I'm gonna check it and see if I still get a bunch of foam coming through the sight glass. here's, got it out because it wasn't foaming up on me when I got to that same spot again. So it's pretty worn. You can see that over there up to where I stopped cleaning. And it's unfortunate, but it will be clean. It just isn't going to look super pretty. This carpet is a bit worn out. Areas where like a bed or something was sitting and there's nothing really showing, you can go over one time, and then as soon as you get to the harsher area, like right here, it might be wise to go over the second time and pay attention to the sight glass if you have a one like this and see what's coming through. If it's just looks soapy, you know, your detergent that you're running, whatever you want to call it, and the carpet looks like it's significantly improved, then, you know, one time may be enough. But never hurts to do one more time over. And just do your dry pass. I never have issues with drying. Even with this smaller machine that I'm running, I've done enough jobs with it. I've had zero complaints. So having a big old strong machine is helpful for bigger jobs and for, of course, getting it drier a little faster. I love my steam action machine, no doubt. But this little guy still do a great job. So the Boxer 421, even though I believe it's discontinued now because of certain things in California, I had to be more compliant with whatever new rules they made. I believe that's part of the reason why it's discontinued, and their consideration in banning small engines, which is ridiculous, but not a topic to get into. And this has a small engine on it, but there is a replacement that I believe is, you know, up to their standards. So if your engine goes out and you need to replace it, I do believe that it's still available to do. Alright, so I don't know if you guys saw it earlier in the video, but this room, right in that area there, had a hardened in the carpet pink stain. You can kind of see just slightly still there. I was able to get basically 90% or 95-ish% of it out. But the problem here is the products that help get these stains out, you can only use so much of it before it can actually start to cause damage to the carpet. So you have to thoroughly extract it. Make sure you extract and neutralize it really well. But the product I use particularly is called Pig Out. There's multiple companies with similar products like this one, but this one's called Pig Out. And it does a pretty good job overall. Between that and heat and agitation is what I got it to be, basically to the point where it's not very noticeable anymore, but I had to stop, okay? Because what happens with these products, and if I'm not mistaken, pretty much all different companies that make this specific spotting agent for hard stains is it can delaminate the carpet, meaning fibers can come loose from the primary backing, and then you have a different problem. So you got to put some down, a little bit of agitation, or depending on the stain, you could do heat transfer sometimes, a little bit, you know, and I used just the carpet one for that, went slow over it, and then took the vacuum line off and scrubbed over this, and it got more of it to come out. But if you use too much, too many times, you will delaminate the carpet. So I did it 3 times on this spot here, and then I stopped, because if I go any further, I'm gonna start pulling a bunch of fibers out, and we obviously don't wanna create a different problem just to try and remove something that's essentially permanent. But because it was hardened into the carpet, I was able to remove most of it. Now it's just on select fibers of the carpet, and basically would cause issues if I kept going. So I wanted to show you guys that. If you remember seeing it earlier in the video, I believe I scanned over it when I was talking. I don't recall if I actually said something about it, but the goal was to try and get it out as much as possible, if at least a little bit, and I believe I've got it to about 90-95%. So wanted to show you guys that. So that's the second bedroom. The master bedroom's down there. You can see where my Scotchgard is still staged, and now I'm on to the third out of 4 bedrooms. So I didn't record myself doing that stain because I don't have my stand with me to kind of prop the camera up so I can do what I was doing. You hear how it's sputtering? If you ever hear that, that usually means either your chemical tank is empty or it didn't prime and you're not getting chemical through, and it's just pulling either air or just water is coming through. So I'm going to stop for a moment and go prime it again. It looked like it primed, but it didn't, so that's something you got to listen to. If it sounds like if you're fluttering your tongue really fast, I guess is the only thing I can compare it to off the top of my head, and that means you're not pulling any chemical. So I shut my valve off on the wand, so it's in the off position, and I set my wand upside down, because you don't want this sitting on the carpet and putting a heavy load on the blower, the system, for long periods of time. Because obviously, again, maintenance, you want to keep your machine and equipment lasting as long as possible. All right, I'm on the last room. This one's a little worn out. All right, last step. Carpets have been Scotch guarded. Now just raking the carpet out. The best way to rake it out is to kind of do backstrokes only on most carpets. Some of them, I mean, this one's not a big deal if you do it like this. I'm just kind of, for the sake of the video, raking it, you know, backwards, front and backwards like this. I never have issues with drying or it looking funky. There are some carpets that would look funky if you did it this way, and so it's best to just lift the rake up and then draw it back towards you. But this is kind of like a contractor's grade carpet. It's nothing special. This house isn't incredibly old, maybe 10 years, if that. And it's just not the greatest of carpet, but yeah, I suggest doing backstrokes with your carpet rake when you're finished doing the finishing touches, you know, raking it out in general, or if you're Scotch guarding and then raking, just get in the habit of doing that. But since I got one hand on my phone here for recording and the other to rake, I'm doing it like this for now. But again, putting some pressure and doing a backstroke, just so you get in the habit of doing that, is the best way to rake the carpet out. But I've never had any issues if I do it this way. Every time I've done a video, nobody's ever called me and said the carpet looks funky because of the way I raked. But if you want to do everything perfectly the best possible way, then just doing a lift and backstroke only would be ideal.